Kure Raian just keeps getting stronger and has the potential right now to be the second strongest of all time in the Kengan Ashura to Kengan Omega story. Recently he returned to the story after training with the sword to grow in power, I'm guessing similar to what Kure Raian did in the past, facing the right hand man of Gilbert Wu, who is currently using 100% Guhan, alongside revealing that he has Superman syndrome, combining them together, claiming pretty outrageous stuff. Raian proceeds to throw hands in base form, coming out on top currently. He is here for revenge, and my man is definitely going to achieve it. But before all of that, we have the story of the strongest Kure member of all time to go over, beginning with why and how Raian has always been that guy with next level potential. I hope you enjoy. We learn that the origin of Kure Raian came from 1300 years of selected breeding that the Kure clan have done, with pretty much each new generation of the Kure being stronger than the last, with the outright claim that the Kure clan are born with a resilience that exceeds human limits, comparing Raian to the likes of Segabahashi and Sorpang, characters who are viewed as pretty much defensive specialists. The existence of Raian could be argued as on par with them due to his genetics alone. Then in Kengan Omega, we learn that the origin of the Kure clan came from the Wu, with the spawning I guess of Wu Hei, which recently is revealed to have passed with the likes of Shen Wulong. And apart from that, it was also revealed in Kengan Omega that some Kures are more so viewed as combat types, with the following being the only confirmed ones in this group as combat Kure or Wu members: the prime of Kure Irio, Kure Raian, Edward Wu, which would also mean Gilbert Wu as well, making this group very limited. And then if we look at Kengan Ashura and what Raian did during that manga, round 1 he demonstrated the superiority of the Kure clan. Then in round 2, as we know, he lost against Tokita Oma. However, there's a big reason for his defeat in that match. One is Oma got stronger after regaining his memories, and 2, Raian just wasn't taking the fight entirely serious. This is because he wasn't using the Kure clan techniques and did not use a single technique in his fight against Oma. For example, we have this initial claim in the early portions, and the reason given to us from Raian's perspective is the following: if I use a Kure technique, it'll be over too soon, not wanting to ruin the fun he's having with Oma in the clash between removal and advance. This naturally left a lot of people thinking that Raian, even back in Ashura, is stronger than the likes of Oma, and we have more evidence of why that's most likely the case. In the early days of Kengan Omega, we get it pretty much perceived from other people's perspective that Raian may be stronger than Oma. Then during the Purgatory tournament, we learn that over the time skip, Oma has been doing daily sparring matches with Raian, losing a large majority at first, and then eventually winning more and more until it was almost even. However, in the end, in terms of numbers alone, Oma claims that Raian is stronger than him. This is during Raian's fight during the Purgatory tournament against Alin Wu. Then we get more and more comparisons later during Oma's fight with Lo Long. For example, Kure Color has a perspective when it comes to matchups, which is later explored when we get Lo Long's character profile, revealing to us that Oma, Raian and Lo Long at that point in the story are pretty much equal to one another, that they can win one day and lose the next, which should mean to us as a fandom that these guys are all very relative to one another. They should be ranked on the same tier at this point in the story. But coming back to the Kengan Ashura version of Raian, we have some more stuff to go over, and some of it was actually cut from the recent season of the anime, which is a little unfortunate. The first moment was Raian actually having an exchange with Rei outside of the tournament, pretty much shitting on the Raishin style master, claiming that he's slower than a fly, with it also being important to note that Raian claimed Rei got faster, the amped version of Rei that ended up facing Kuroki, but still this just puts Raian above the base level of Rei without a doubt. And the second moment was during the Guardian invasion from Hayami, his whole plan to take over the Kengan Association. In the anime version of this, we see Raian alongside Kure Raian mostly just watching the events play out. This is very different in the manga. During that version of the story, we see him actually face multiple guardians, with some of them being top tier, and right here, it's believed that Raian used a Kure clan technique considering his line. I haven't used these techniques since I learnt them, showing that even back in Ashura, yes, he's capable of using them, while also highlighting the Kure clan's insane resilience once again, as this is after Raian was defeated by Oma, surviving all these blows from the Nico style with the following claim on screen here, alongside the final moves from Oma, which honestly probably would have killed most of the other fighters, but after all that, Raian was pretty much fine, leaving many of us to question how strong was Raian actually during Kengan Ashura, and where would he actually be ranked from weakest to strongest in the tournament. Another top tier we actually have ways to compare him to is against Wakatsuki. Kano Agito claims that in Waka's bracket, there's two fighters that pretty much outclass him. One of them is Julius and the other is Raian. And then the author of the Kengan manga answered various Q&A questions on Twitter, and the following was this: how strong is Raian if he used Kure techniques and goes all out? Can he beat Wakatsuki? And the author's response: Raian is pretty strong, just as Agito stated, giving us a callback to this panel I just mentioned. Raian can probably win if he uses full strength, but not 100% guaranteed though. So this is more likely if they fight each other, Raian would be pretty much more likely to win. That's what it's pretty much assumed to be the meaning. So even in Kengan Ashura, we have ways to rank Raian over Waka. We have ways to rank him over Oma. Does he have ways to be ranked over Kano and Kuroki? I would say no. So as a whole, he's probably the third strongest in the Kengan Ashura manga. However, that begins to change with more stuff revealed in Kengan Omega. During the Purgatory fight, when he destroyed and massacred Ellen Wu, we had Lolong straight away claim that he's on par with the Fang, that being of course Kano Agito, who during the tournament itself, after demonstrating his improvements in defeating Lu Tien, had Kuroki say that he's unsure whether he can defeat that version of Kano Agito. And then of course, we have the big fight between the Kure and Wu clan, and of course, Kure Raian vs Edward Wu. So outright, yes, Raian was the one to defeat and kill Edward Wu during that fight. However, this was mostly due to Edward Wu being poisoned by this blade, confirmed in Edward Wu's character profile to be a main reason Raian was able to do it, providing clarity that Raian at this point isn't on Edward Wu level. However, we got a few things building up Raian surpassing the likes of Edward Wu. First is this Raian outright tanking Edward Wu's ultimate technique, something that has an absolutely insane name, and even if he was poisoned, Raian tanking this is still insane. And then of course, Iryo claiming that Raian is the one who's going to surpass him in his prime, which of course connects to a statement Iryo made in the early parts of the fight, that if Iryo was in his prime, back when he was the first Fang of Metsudo, that Edward Wu would pretty much be child's play for him, fodder you could say. However, this isn't necessarily the case. Once again, in Edward Wu's character profile, which is created by the author of Kengan as little side things in the physical releases, reveals to us that this is just from Iryo's subjective opinion, and that the reality is it's pretty much an either way, meaning to us as a fandom, they should be relative. And then of course, with the death of Edward Wu, we learn that he had a clone, someone that has the memories of Edward Wu, someone who physically is superior to Edward Wu, and someone who right now is working on being, I guess, smarter and more technical than Edward Wu, surpassing him in every way. That is Gilbert Wu. And also on top of that, after the defeat of Edward Wu, and of course the death of Kure Raian, the Kure clan had an all-out battle against the Wu clan, led by Kure Raian facing Gilbert Wu. This is where off-screen Raian was defeated and went into hiding, which of course recently revealed went into his training arc for the last 2 years of the Kengan story. That's how long it's been since the Purgatory tournament, which is pretty interesting. Bringing us to chapter 255 of Kengan Omega, the most recent chapter at the recording of this video, where we cut to a scene of Irio's death that we didn't see initially, where Irio tells Raian that he must surpass Edward Wu, and that Edward's brother Howard Wu is still out there. Right now, Howard Wu, as we know, has been defeated by Gilbert Wu, is no longer alive, however was indeed a monster relative to Edward Wu, once again adding more evidence to why Gilbert Wu is stronger than Edward Wu, meaning Raian has to get stronger than even what Irio before his death expected, bringing us to the final question of today's video. Just how strong has Raian become, and just how strong does he need to be? This is where we have to bring up the scaling of Gilbert Wu. So as we all know, Shen Wulong is by far the strongest character in the series. Tokita Oma is currently training with the likes of Kuroki Gensai for the upcoming match against Shen Wulong, where he's without a doubt going to have an insane improvement. Kuroki recently in the story had a fight against Shen Wulong where he performed miles better than everyone else, even better than Gai Mikaku, who resulted in Shen nerfing himself to just have a fun time with him. But Gai Mikaku was claimed by Oma to be pretty much a monster of power, a monster of everything, someone he wants nothing to do with this partly being due to his strength. Something important revealed during that fight from Shen Wulong is that pretty much those close to him are probably stronger than Gai Mikaku, that referring to the Tiger Nico, Gilbert and Yan. Recently in the story we've seen the Tiger Nico face Kiryu and have what I would say not the best performance, leading more people to go on the side that Gilbert is stronger than Nico, which is also kinda backed up by some YouTuber statements about Edward Wu back during the Purgatory tournament as well, the person who had a clash with Nico at that time. We also had a heated moment between Gilbert and Yan, where Yan was showing the confidence to actually kill Gilbert. Of course, these three are probably relative to one another, but my personal ranking would go Gilbert, Nico and then Yan, regardless of this scene and Yan's confidence, which means Gilbert has the potential to be the second strongest in the entire story currently. When it comes to Lu Han, yes, he has crazy statements made by Shen Wulong, but also statements that are kinda implying to me that Lu Han is kinda a fraud, and personally I'm not investing my stocks into him in the future of the story, and don't think on a personal level he's stronger than Gilbert, Nico or even Yan, but of course we'll have to wait and see in regards to that in the future of the story. We also have Kuroki Gensai, so he, for all we know, could actually be the second strongest, and there are decent arguments to say that. Shen Wulong, right after clashing with him at first, claimed that the Almighty Beard is the strongest person he's met in this country, which I don't believe includes the other worm members Yan, Gilbert, etc., and may not include Mukaku due to certain reasoning and where he actually met Mukaku for the first time. However, based on performance and other things, I would say Kuroki is above Mukaku, but is he above Gilbert and the others? I can't say for certain. For now, they're definitely relative to one another, and I will be ranking them on a tier list, but I do believe Gilbert is that number 2, and this is for other reasons. Right now, Oma is training with Kuroki, of course, to fight Shen Wulong, the strongest in the story, training that's going to be immensely helpful outside of the little moment where Shen actually helped Oma as well, and of course Oma being a clone of pretty much the other version of Shen Wulong, the more I guess murderous evil version you could say to a degree, meaning of course Oma has a lot of narrative moving forward, and while that is happening, Raian is taking out the right hand man of Gilbert, building up his rematch against Gilbert Wu, which is most likely going to happen very soon. So imagine if we're having Raian vs Gilbert and Oma vs Shen happening at the same time, which is a high possibility. Then if we consider that Oma and Raian have been relative to one another for like 4 years within the Kengan story. As if you don't know, there was a 2-year time skip from Kengan Ashura to Kengan Omega, and now from the Purgatory tournament there's been another 2-year time skip, and it's really the first time Raian has been training alone for really a whole purpose, not just him doing whatever. Raian has a goal and he's pushing to achieve it now. That's why he disappeared for 2 years to go on this training trip, and now having that facial hair, the growth of the almighty beard, which you all know gives them a huge buff. I do think Raian will defeat and kill Gilbert Wu, and I do believe Oma will be defeated by Shenmue Long, which to a lot of people, considering the narrative of Oma being the one fighting Shen rather than Kuroki, would mean Raian could be argued as the second strongest in the entire series, at least shortly in the story. Let me know what you think about all that. Of course, it's probably going to be the case that a lot of these guys are very relative to one another, interchangeable with Shenmue Long at the top, but still, Raian is up there now and I cannot wait to see his match against Gilbert, and of course the new chapters. Subscribe, shout out to the members, the Mad Lads. You can get access to additional content if you become a member as well, but that's it guys, peace.